Hey everybody, so I'm Chance. I work for Genius Games. I'm our director of sales. Back here you'll see John Covey talking to a retailer right now. But Genius Games, what we do is we make hard science themed games. So we have focused really on two things. The first is going to be that the games have really good solid mechanics because as you may have played some bad science games in the past, it's never fun. We want to make our games fun. The second thing is all of our games are accurate to the science. So when you play Cytosis, it's a worker placement game that actually happens inside the human cell. You're actually doing things that are realistic to what happens in the cell. So you're going to use mRNA from the nucleus, and you're going to translate those into proteins in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. You're then going to go through the Golgi apparatus and out through the cell through a process called exocytosis, and that's going to score you points. In the body, you don't score points, obviously, but this is all accurate to the science. So what's great about our games is, one, they're fun, but two, we actually have teachers using some of these games in their classrooms. Over here, we actually, Ion is one of our games that's endorsed by the National Science Teachers Association, which is fantastic for us. And then we actually just finished up a Kickstarter last week for Subatomic, the deck building game. Subatomic, you actually use quarks to build protons and neutrons. You use high energy photons to build electrons, and then you use those cards to either build your deck or build atoms, which allow you to score points. During the Kickstarter campaign, we actually had some particle physicists reach out and say, hey, the way you're making electrons, the way we were doing it, is kind of right, but not super right. And so we actually had some long nights in the office, like, how do we fix this, right? So we actually changed the science of the game. So we changed them from particle wave duality cards to now high energy photons. And it's funny, I know way more about particle physics now than I ever thought I would. So we really focus on the science. That's the most important thing for us, is because we don't want our games to just be fun. We want them to be fun and accurate. John, actually, our founder, has a background in teaching. Yeah, John taught chemistry at the collegiate level. I've actually also taught biology at the collegiate level as a teaching assistant in grad school. So we both have education backgrounds. John has a master's in chemical engineering, and I have a master's in education. So it kind of seems like they're a great duo. And we're gamers. That's probably the most important thing. Before I worked for Genius Games, I spent way too much of my life playing board games. I don't know if that's true, but it's not possible. My girlfriend might tell you that. And then coming in here, I think the passion I think that we both have for this industry and science is why our games are good and why I think they do so well. One thing that a lot of people don't know we have is we have a line of children's books as well. So we have a book series about women in physics, biology, and chemistry, and then we also have books geared towards much younger children called My First Protons and Neutrons, My First Atoms, and My First Electrons. The Women in books focuses on contributions from women in science that gets glossed over in a lot of science history classes. And the books around protons, electrons, and atoms is to get kids to be not so intimidated by these subjects when they get into school. Sometimes as a child it's really hard to grasp that, and you get intimidated by it, and then you just never want to think about it again. If you can start younger kids thinking about these things, by the time they learn them in school, it's just like second nature. And so we're kind of trying to breed the next generation of scientists through books. 2014 was our first published game. It was a card game called Linkage. We actually don't publish it anymore because we're redesigning it. Because in retrospect, it might not have been.
It was a starting point.
It was a starting point, right, yeah.